Hey everyone, we're back. Twin Flame Era is the name of our videos. This one video, I wanted in this case.
Yeah, you wanted.
Yeah, to maybe take a minute to backtrack and share some experiences and motifs that have run through my life and probably Irene's life that have to do with the masculine feminine uh, energy misalignment or alignment principle, uh, symbolically in dream, in vision, and as a felt experience, um, how that manifests um, before coming into union over the course of a lifetime, maybe. I don't have to talk about all of it today, but acknowledging that and the difference beginning now that we're unified or in the process of learning how to be in union. Did you want to say something?
No, not really, not yet.
So, I guess I'd start by sharing a experience, a dream.
Your first dream.
Yeah, and I think that's the big that's the big telling moment. I mean, I'll really just try to keep it simple. Um, I have a memory, and really, our videos here are not meant to come from a place of we're not professional healers,
We're not counselors.
counselors, we're not ordaining ourselves as anything other than people sharing our experiences. So it'll come with our own language, our own inexperience, and our own synthesized, ability to sort of understand what's happening to us based on the lenses we're come with at this point.
Which is our experience, our framed experience of the journey so far.
And it's kind of as simple as that. So that should be always with our videos understood. Also understood that we're in bed wearing our pajamas, not even actual literal like actual pajamas, but things we sleep in. I'll always be wearing this sweatshirt. But I think it looks good. We look good on the video. So that was just our little disclaimer, and it's really wanting to sink that in to anyone who's seeking out there. If you're in your own process right this very minute, like the way we've been, looking through these videos online, looking online, maybe researching other places for this sort of answers because you've entered into your own twin flame experience. You're in some stage of that process, maybe further along than us. Maybe you're looking for confirmation or just reminders. I find that looking at these others having these experiences is like a reminder that resets the frequency, um, for us to remember our purpose and our sort of like deeper mission that's very hard to stay connected to in life and in body and 3D in the life, especially when you're carrying all your individual stuff. So um, it's merely I'm just saying merely saying these videos are maybe little reminders, wake ups, and things you can find commonality with, and maybe some reference points, or maybe some things to relate to, which is healing and we create a path together, us and you, which is I think the point. Um,
Connecting and coming together and hopefully creating dialogue and a communication base of how we might forge a language set of how to speak about these kinds of experiences, which are very unique to within our cultural lens of what a romantic pairing between um, masculine and feminine energies are to look like.
Mm-hmm. And really, I mean, in some ways, getting back to maybe the where I was hoping to jump off from, two
Pisces.
places. Yeah, the
Pisces.
Pisces notion, which is, and I call it Pisces because that's the appropriate symbol and energy that represents really accurately um, those, you know, base building blocks of universal principles of masculine, feminine. So that symbol was the very first thing, very first impression I had in dream form as a little tiny human. And I remember my first dream, and it was of large Pisces, two, masculine, feminine, swirling around, following each other in a whirlpool. And in a domed, golden, kind of bronze domed, small whirlpool room. And they were spinning, and then they spun down a funnel, down a drain. And as that they disappeared, these principal masculine, feminine energies, it was really like saying goodbye to, and this is difficult to put into language, but it was either the splitting of masculine, feminine at that moment, it was the saying goodbye to previous life. Uh,
That was your feeling, though,
and
the
that was my feeling.
impression,
That was
yeah.
the impression. As a little, I mean, as a, I don't remember. I was two or something, or 1.5 or two, and I've, I don't know that I had any language for it at the time. There was a deep sadness there, and a mourning, and a like, oh no, don't go, and then a trauma, so that it stays very fresh, and a real deep mystery and a strangeness, as strange as dreams can be, but much stranger, like a big dream or a lucid dream, an astral projection, which we can get into later because I've been doing that since I was very, very young, and practicing and training in the sphere of the astral dimensions and dreams. But that was the first one. So to me, now that we've had this experience, I see that first dream as so in place, as making perfect sense. So I just wanted to share that experience and tie it up with piece of our reuniting in the very potent space where Irene and I were beginning our enmeshing in the fever of all that magic that happens when you meet and decide and click in. I felt that Pisces masculine feminine reawaken and come into fruition as a mandala on my chest spinning. It was a very similar energy to that dream. So if any of those kind of visions and feelings and sort of elemental energies make sense to you, those are some experiences I've had.
And also, like that, um, we've had similar um, symbols appear in tandem to one another.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well, that's a whole, we could do a whole thing on that.
and prior to us coming together, I would say that in the year that we were uh, first as friends, which was difficult for you,
Mm.
um, and we were first friends, and in my meditations, when I would get into deep samadhi, into deep um, dissolution states, I would see this
Mm.
Pisces uh, in the forefront of my mind's eye, and it was I mean it was a really peculiar um, state of seeing something like that. So
Mm. That's just one example, too, of now many, many things have happened for the two of us that we will get into at some point, right?
there is this quality of our coming together, which traverses past, present, future timelines, and so then enables us to think together differently. Or I don't even know how to say it.
Well, that's a good way of saying it. I mean, when we're in symbol realm, in harmony, and using heart to resonate with each other, and it usually can happen through gazing into each other's eyes, surrender. There's some real simple things that we seem to get there with trust and that surrendering trust. When we get back to that space, it's not like a regular romantic love or sort of a yearning or any of that sentiment. It's really you open up space
and power.
and power. And those powers, I mean, they were extremely potent when we first clicked in and made a pact or make a pact. We woke up to our pact. And I mean, there was moments when many sort of abnormal abilities, visions, and a feeling. I mean, a really felt thing that was carried along with us both, and the way we had, and we communicated in rapid fire, saying the same thing, texting, emails, and in person, and over a computer. We'll talk about our story for a while because we were at a distance when we clicked into each other, and it was really bizarre and difficult. And stayed up all night without sleep for many days, staring at each other and sort of staring at ourselves. By staring at each other, it was like waking up to yourself in another for the first time. I know that's been cataloged on here probably by others, but if you had that experience, you know what it might be like, and it's trippy and magical and scary, and really enter that sort of dark and light field of magic. Man, magic's just a word, to describe something that feels very mysterious and abnormal. So.
Yeah, which we both on our own ends and then we've both experienced quite variegated forms of soul connections with other partners, but this was certainly a strikingly unusual coming together, which we can get into maybe another video, but
yeah, the Pisces thing is really just to say it's really affirming to hear in other people's stories and to notice in our own sort of the masculine feminine quality. And now the big punchline, which I guess we won't maybe get to in this video, we can continue, as to do with previous like healing and traumas and our life stories and all the stuff of our individual lives separate, is catalog or categorized by, at least for me, and can be open about it without having to go into detail, but so much confusion, and that confusion is of like relationship nature, sexual nature, energetic nature, rejection of our rejection of the feminine element or rejection of the masculine, and a real movement between those two spheres, and kind of a misalignment and confusion for me, and then a sort of building of personality or persona through ego around that confusion, and a hardening, all the while beckoning and waiting to be softened and reunited. And we did a lot of healing on our own to get through that, but it can only really start when we came together. In a big way.
Well, it catalyzed, but we did have to do the work initially to slough off all the stuff that we had to do on our own in order to come together. And I won't get into it, but this striking moment, and it really was one big moment, like a
we had a spiritual event bring us together.
Yeah, and not like a spiritual event, meaning that involved ritual in two different places. Well, on a plane. Anyway,
we met on the astral plane and then confirmed it, and that's weird. that was weird to us, whether we were interested in those kind of things or not. The massive confirmation was like nothing else. It wasn't just like
It,
calling someone at the same time or something.
no,
It
it
was we met in
was.
that space and then discussed it after in this space. And
It doesn't make really sense even when we say it. I
yeah,
mean, to
there's
tell the
more to it.
stories, it would make more sense,
But maybe you can relate to your version of that.
yeah, exactly. Like creating creating that space enough within ourselves individually to be able to slow off, or that space being made from having slowed off.
Let's slow it off.
Like,
Oh, slaw, like
slow it off. Like, like exfoliate. Um, like,
that should be the name of this
like
video.
razor your face, like we saw someone do.
That's weird.
So to shed
Mm.
all of the different, all of the skins that we put on from having
It's a shattering.
endured particular experiences, so that we might know more about what it is to be human. And after having collected that knowledge and having done the work and going through all of it, shadow collecting wisdom, and then enough personal power to be able to, in my case, I invoked in a
calling
in a powerful way, and in your case,
I'd been training like that through dream since
and
childhood. So your training gathered, then my training had been gathered.
and also you were already like you're much more like empathic than I am. I think
Just different sender receiver qualities and stuff like that.
But like you had been preparing for this, like with us.
Yeah,
particularly.
I'd been looking at us in that way for longer, and then when you had that experience, it was this massive blast and shattering confirmation. And it was for me too. Actually, I was really flippant. I was very like, yeah, I know we're meant to be in this depth of, and then the minute we both sort of looked at each other and said it, it set off a cascading effect. And
but you never really ever prepared for it, because from that point on, everything, a lot of things get immediately rewired.
Everything really.
Which is like the catalytic quality of having having like been reunited once more, and past life feeling, like, I mean, not
visions
just feeling,
of other
but
dimensions, lives in other dimensions,
and in tandem,
same time confirmation,
with our meditation practice, and also with just parlor
spending
mind
constant
games, like that we play just to exercise that ability, and
which is the stuff we're working through.
Which is what we're working through together now.
And then just spending time, the new modality of being in union with someone, not relationships but where everything you do, everything you're interested in, everything you're aligned with, and all your sensibilities and senses of humor and senses of disgust or anger or all the maybe the degrading parts, and and the actual on the ground stuff becomes enmeshed overnight almost, and rapidly. And we talked about that in the last video, the speed of all this. But I think we talked a little bit about the Pisces thing, about the nature of dreams thing. I think it's a good way to intro, and then we just sort of reiterated. So about the intensity of coming together, if any of you are just come together or in the very like magical throes of the beginning, it's rough. And let's just be honest, it gets kind of rougher. But this is what we keep hearing in these videos, and look, we'll reiterate it. You have to stick with it and don't run away from each other. We're sticking with it, and you can too.
Yeah, you can too. You should. We have to.
Yeah, you kind of have to.
If
we don't have to.
Well, I mean, if we're to
you might want to not do it this lifetime.
But I mean, if we're really to be clear, the purpose of our reunification is so that we can help repair and harmonize a lot of what's been disrupted um, in our relationships with our entire beingness here in this
All
realm.
beings, really, in all realms, because it is a liberation.
It's the liberation front. We're at the forefront of um, potentially liberating all sentient beings from suffering. I mean, that's the mission. The mission is peace.
Hmm. And there's a real particular role, and unfortunately, it's tough to be a person and a human, and to be in anything, but socially,
But we're in a
societally, and
very
so.
we're in a very ideal position
Mm-hmm.
of being in precious human life, and with this body and with this beingness, the quality of being human, we have the capabilities of experiencing on so many different vibrations and um, and different kinds of bodies
Mm.
because we have a body. There's a great potential for amazing compassion cultivated,
Mm.
and once we are able to do that within ourselves, we become not only templates um, for how relationship can be reframed, but we also have the ability to affect our environment through our attuned energy bodies.
Mm. That's all that's happening in the world anyway. So.
And if we can do this, and if we become solid within ourselves and within our union, then we become stronger. We become more powerful proponents for bringing more peace into
Mm-hmm.
into the field, so that we can raise, the vibration, and we're at the forefront of that. We're in an era of great potential and actually urgency
Mm.
because of there's no time.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Look how the red strands of my sweatshirt are kind of doing like a yin yang Pisces curve. Also, this mirror is sort of like those realms we pass between, like through dream and all that, as mirrors are. So, um, thank you, and I hope you benefit, and
Yeah,
your suffering and struggles, and combating, and maybe pain, and anything you're going through. If you're in a twin flame union, that if you feel alienated, even for a moment, sometimes in the magical, really very intense beginnings or spots of connectivity, you can feel rejected quite quickly and come back quite quickly. If you're feeling pain and everything, remember that the surrender back into loving, and moving out of mind into a heart place, and that sort of mysterious place between the two of you is accessible, and can happen quickly. To keep that faith and sort of sturdy resolve, because
it's
we're all in this together. So
it's worth it.
I think it's worth it. So we'll be back with more soon.